I straightened my tie, checking one last time that my presentation materials were perfect. Tonight's family dinner at my sister Rebecca's mansion was more than just a gathering. It was my chance to finally prove myself. After years of working in silence, making strategic investments through my company Griffin Capital, I was ready to pitch my biggest venture yet. I just needed backing from Monarch Bank, where my brother-in-law, Marcus Williams, served as executive vice president. The irony wasn't lost on me. 10 years ago, Marcus had been the one to deny my first business loan, calling my ideas childish fantasies. Now he paraded around at every family function, reminding everyone how he'd saved my sister from her struggling family by marrying her. James, Rebecca greeted me at the door, air kissing my cheek. My little sister had changed since marrying into the Williams banking dynasty. The warm girl who used to defend me against schoolyard bullies was now more interested in social climbing than family loyalty. "You're looking professional," she said, eyeing my off-the-rack suit with barely concealed disappointment. "Marcus just got back from Milan. Wait till you see his new Italian suits." The dining room was a monument to new money trying to look old. Crystal chandeliers, antique furniture, and what I suspected were reproduction paintings pretending to be originals. Marcus sat at the head of the table like a king holding court. "James, the small business genius graces us with his presence," Marcus called out, drawing laughs from the other guests, all bank executives and their wives. "Still running that little investment firm of yours? What was it called?" "Pigeon Capital." "Griffin Capital," I corrected quietly, setting up my laptop. "And actually, that's what I wanted to discuss. I have a proposal." "Oh God, not another one of your proposals," Marcus groaned dramatically. "Remember his last idea, honey? What was it? Affordable housing developments. As if anyone wants to invest in that." Rebecca giggled nervously. "James, maybe this isn't the right time. The proposal is solid," I pressed on. "A $2 billion development project. Sustainable housing, commercial spaces, community facilities. All we need is financing from Monarch Bank." Marcus nearly choked on his wine. "$2 billion? Have you lost your mind?" He started laughing, and others joined in. "You can barely afford that suit, and you want to play with billions." "The numbers work," I insisted, pulling up my presentation. "If you just look." "Enough." Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "You want to know why you'll never succeed? Because you don't understand how this world works. Real business isn't about helping people or building communities. It's about power. And you, dear brother-in-law, have none." He stood up, straightening his Italian suit. "Tomorrow morning, I'm presenting to Monarch Bank's board about our latest acquisition. Real business, big business, something you'll never understand. So stick to your small dreams, James. It's all you're good for." As forced laughter filled the room, my phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. "Documents confirmed. Transfer complete. You now own 51% of Monarch Bank's shares. Board meeting scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow. Ready to meet your new employees?" I looked up at Marcus, still laughing at his own joke, and allowed myself a small smile. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. I arrived at Monarch Bank's headquarters at 8:45 a.m., wearing the same off-the-rack suit from last night. The security guard did a double take when I walked in. He was used to turning me away from Marcus's floor. "Mr. Griffin." My lawyer, Sarah Chen, waited by the elevators. "Everything's in place. The board members have arrived early, eager to hear about Marcus's big announcement." She smiled. "They don't know there's been a slight change in the agenda. The last decade had been a careful chess game. While Marcus and his banking elite mocked my small investments, I've been quietly building an empire through Griffin Capital. Shell companies, silent partnerships, strategic acquisitions, all leading to this moment. The struggling companies I helped rebuild now formed a network of loyal allies, and their combined resources had allowed me to execute the ultimate takeover." "Does anyone suspect?" I asked as we rode to the top floor. "No. The share acquisitions were completely compartmentalized. Each shell company appeared independent. Even our insider sources say Marcus is confident about today's meeting. He's planning to announce Monarch's takeover of Rivera Banking Group." I smiled. Rivera Banking Group, another company I secretly controlled. The boardroom was impressive. All mahogany and marble, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Marcus stood at the head of the table, That same smug smile from last night plastered on his face. James, what are you doing here? This is a closed board meeting. Actually, Sarah stepped forward, placing a folder on the table. Mr. Griffin has every right to be here. What is this? Marcus grabbed the papers, his face reddening as he read. Ownership documents, I said calmly, taking a seat. As of 8 a.m. this morning, Griffin Capital holds 51% of Monarch Bank's shares. The room erupted in chaos. Board members grabbed copies of the documents, whispering frantically. Marcus's face had gone from red to white. Impossible. We would have known if someone was buying up shares. Would you? I pulled up a presentation on the Boardroom screen. A web of companies and acquisitions, all leading back to Griffin Capital. You were too busy looking down on small businesses to notice them uniting under one banner. My banner. This is a trick, Marcus sputtered. The Williams family has controlled this bank for generations. Until you started making risky investments and alienating smaller clients, I countered. Did you think those clients had nowhere else to go? They came to me, Marcus. All those small dreams you mocked. They added up. The board members were nodding now, seeing the full picture. Marcus had been bleeding the bank with his aggressive expansion plans, while I'd been building a sustainable network of loyal customers and solid investments. You can't do this, he whispered. Rebecca. She's your sister. Yes, she is. And maybe now she'll remember what that means. I stood up, straightening my off-the-rack suit. By the way, your Rivera Banking Group takeover announcement? That won't be necessary. They already answer to me. The boardroom doors opened and Rebecca burst in, her face streaked with tears. Marcus, what's happening? Why is our account frozen? About that, I turned to my sister. We need to discuss some irregularities in Marcus's personal trading accounts. Significant irregularities. Marcus collapsed into his chair, his Italian suit suddenly looking like the costume it always was. All those years, he breathed. You were playing us. No, Marcus. I was just doing business, real business, something you never understood. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of audits, meetings, and revelations. What started as a takeover quickly turned into a scandal as our forensic accountants uncovered years of Marcus's financial misconduct. Unauthorized trades, inflated assets, and personal expenses disguised as business costs. The prestigious Williams banking dynasty was built on a foundation of sand. I sat in my new office, formerly Marcus's, reviewing the latest audit reports when Rebecca stormed in. How could you do this to us? She demanded, slamming her hands on my desk. Do you know what people are saying? Our friends won't even take my calls. Your friends? I looked up at my sister. Or your husband's friends? What's the difference? Marcus gave me everything. A perfect life, status, respect. Respect? I stood up, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Let me show you something. I pulled up security footage from last month's board meeting. Watch how your husband treated his employees, the ones who weren't important enough. Rebecca's face fell as she watched Marcus berating a junior analyst, mocking an elderly board member, dismissing valid concerns about predatory lending practices. This was your perfect life? I asked softly, standing silently while he bullied people, just like you stood silently at that dinner when he humiliated me. I didn't know what else to do, she whispered. After he helped pay for Mom's medical bills. I pay for those bills, I interrupted. Through one of my shell companies, Marcus just took the credit. Check your records. Rebecca sank into a chair, her designer handbag sliding to the floor. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? The brother with small dreams. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Griffin? The FBI agents are here about Mr. Williams's trading violations. Rebecca's head snapped up. FBI. James, please. He's still my husband. And you're still my sister. I sat beside her. That's why I've arranged for immunity in exchange for his cooperation. He'll face penalties and fines, but no jail time. The Williams family legacy might be over, but you won't have to see your husband in handcuffs. Why? She asked, tears streaming down her face. Why show mercy after everything he did? I handed her a framed photo I kept in my desk, us as kids, her standing up to bullies who were picking on her nerdy big brother. Because a long time ago, someone taught me that real strength isn't about having power. It's about how you use it. As Rebecca broke down crying, my phone buzzed with a message from the board. Marcus had agreed to resign. His last act would be to sign over his remaining shares. The Williams banking dynasty was officially over, but maybe, just maybe, the Griffin siblings could start healing. 1 year later, the sign on the building read Griffin and Partners Financial Group, a merger of Monarch Bank with my other companies. The marble and mahogany remained, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Junior employees no longer flinched when executives walked by, and the boardroom hosted regular meetings with small business owners and community leaders. I was reviewing a microlending proposal when my assistant announced an unexpected visitor, Marcus. He looked different, humbler in his department store suit, the arrogance gone from his stance. The immunity deal had saved him from prison, but his reputation in banking was finished. Most of his so-called friends had abandoned him the moment his empire crumbled. "James," he nodded, standing awkwardly by the door. I came to sign the final paperwork. The divorce settlement. Rebecca told me," I replied, gesturing for him to sit. "She said you're moving to Chicago." "Small consulting firm." "Very small." He attempted a weak smile. "Ironic, right? All those dreams I mocked. Turns out they weren't so small after all." "No, they weren't." He placed a folder on my desk, the last of his Monarch Bank shares being transferred as part of the divorce settlement. "You know what the worst part is?" he said quietly, "not losing the money or the status. It's realizing that I had a chance to be part of something meaningful. Your vision for ethical banking, community development. I could have been your ally instead of your enemy." "Yes, you could have." "Rebecca's happier now," he admitted. "I see it when we meet with the lawyers. She's found her voice again. Started that children's charity she always talked about. The one you said was a waste of time." He winced. "I deserve that. And a lot more." He stood up, straightening his modest tie. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for the dinner or the loans, but for everything. You were the better man, James. You always were." After he left, I walked through the office floors, watching my employees, our employees, at work. The analyst Marcus had berated was now heading our community outreach program. The elderly board members' concerns about ethical banking had become our core philosophy. Rebecca's charity occupied the entire 10th floor, providing support for underprivileged children. My sister had found her purpose again, separate from designer labels and social climbing. Sometimes during lunch, we'd sit in my office and laugh about old times, slowly rebuilding the bond we'd lost. That evening, as I prepared for a board meeting, my assistant brought in a loan application. "Small bakery downtown. Owner says she met you 10 years ago." I smiled, recognizing the name. It was the same woman who'd given me free coffee when I was struggling to build Griffin Capital, believing in my small dreams when everyone else scoffed. On the application, I wrote, "Approved," with compliments from the small dream believer. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about proving them wrong by creating something they never thought possible. Marcus had been right about one thing. Business was about power. But he never understood that the greatest power lies not in what you can take from others, but in what you can help them build.